So this is not a typical video for me, but I hope that this is helpful for somebody out there and future me. I'm just going to kind of go over my last year of doing YouTube and learning the hobby, and go over some of my goals. I hope that I can look back at this and see my progress throughout the years, I'm hoping. And if someday I actually become a full-time YouTuber, and who knows how successful, or maybe not, it might be useful for somebody else to come back and see where I was at 1 year in, or 2 years in, or 3 years in. So I plan on doing this once a year, end of the year, kind of like a yearly recap. So in the last year, I've gone from having my workspace in a basement room behind a bunch of exercise equipment, so that basically I had enough room to unfold my chair, and that was it. I had a probably 4 foot by 2 foot, maybe 2.5 foot deep table. It got the job done. It was a nice beat up surface, which I actually kind of appreciated because I didn't have to worry about keeping it nice. But I outgrew that space very quickly. There was very little storage there, and that basically became my storage spot, and I moved my workspace to a table that was just in the main room of our basement. This one I had to be a little bit more careful about the table, and I probably ended up putting a few marks on it. Most of them came off. The ones that didn't, I don't think are very obvious. But anyway, that was a much nicer space to work on, but I had to set up every time and take it all down, and it wasn't a dedicated space really. And then I moved here. This is a unused bedroom, basically. Mattresses against the wall, and I have basically this desk, which I think is about 6 foot by 3 foot, not exactly sure. I don't ever show you that half because it's always covered in papers and whiteboards and all sorts of junk. I do have a couple sets of drawers that I use to organize some gear, and I have 2 black tables, probably 1.5 foot by 4 foot, one of which I set you on, and then the other one I have my 3D printer set up on. I haven't been using that too much lately because winter in Michigan means very little sun, which means I can't really cure my prints. So either I'll eventually get a UV curing system, or we'll just wait till summer and then start printing models again. For a channel, I went from 0 subscribers, 0 views, 0 watch time, because I started this year. Started late January. And let's take a look at how long it took things to get going and all that jazz. So I got 920 views in the last 28 days. I have 36.7 watch time hours, and I've gained 23 subscribers in the last month. That's basically December. Compare that to in January, I didn't get anything. Okay, so ignoring January, since January was the first month and I published, I want to say like the 27th or something like that. I looked it up I think at one point, but I don't remember what it was. So anyway, ignoring January, February was the first full month, and I got 25 views and 1.1 hours of watch time, no subscribers. And then in March I got 60 views and 2.6 hours watch time and 3 subscribers, and really the first subscriber I got was on March 3rd. So that was about a month and a week in, I would estimate, maybe 2 weeks in, which was really quite a long time for me to go with no encouragement in the form of subscribers. Now I know a lot of YouTubers out there will inform you, and they are right. Subscribers don't really mean anything, but it's still rather disheartening to see that big old 0. So I was pretty excited when I got a subscriber, and it did take a while for things to slowly build up. Now, in October, things started moving along. So I got 486 views, 17.7 watch hours, and 15 subscribers, which is kind of crazy to go from that in a year. But it kept growing. 594, 22.2, and 12 in November. And then, as you saw, December was 900 views, 36.7, and 23, which that's just kind of crazy to me how I gained, I want to say 300, almost. Maybe more than that even by the time this month's over. Got 2 days yet. But that's pretty stellar to me, in my opinion. So that brings us to the grand total of the lifetime views was 3,324. Watch time hours, 125.4. And subscribers is 94. And honestly, I kind of expect, I'm hoping to break 100 by the end of the year, which would be just under 12 months, a little over 11 months in, which is kind of crazy to think that 100 people want to watch what I'm making. I know in terms of YouTube numbers, it's a very small number, but if you take that number and you think about it as people, that's a big number. So, over the course of these 11 months, almost a year, I have painted a handful of minis. Before I started this channel, I painted 0 minis. The first video on this channel is my first mini ever. And it was posted like a few weeks after I made it. I spent weeks editing that video and it's garbage. So I apologize and please don't take any of my advice from it. But since then, I have learned a little bit. I think that's everybody. I have here 14 models that I've painted. 5 of them have finished bases, which honestly is the part that makes them look significantly better, so I should have just gone through and done that. I did not. But I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot painting these models. I obviously have a lot more to learn since that's only 14 models. Hopefully I will paint up a warband for Frostgrave soon. That's like 9-ish minis. 8 soldiers and a wizard. And an apprentice, 10. So that would almost double the number of minis I have now. I feel like I've gone from 0 knowledge to somewhat confident at the hobby, at train building, at mini painting. And in 1 year, while also learning all things YouTube, I feel like that's actually quite an accomplishment. As for my YouTube skills, I have greatly improved my editing, I like to think. I still have a long ways to go, but I have learned that just quadrupling the speed is not a good way to edit videos. So there's that. But I still have a lot of work to do. I've been finding Catherine Manning and Nate from Channel Makers. Those are 2 separate channels. Very helpful. If you're interested in YouTube, I would recommend checking them out. There's loads of other good creators too out there I've used different videos for, but these are the guys that, guy and gal, I've been coming back to quite a bit. Alright, future goals. I have a handy dandy little worksheet I built up. I started this in November, so you can see here the earliest date was November 1. I don't think that's quite accurate, but it was definitely early in November that I started this sheet. Now, my original goal is 1 video a week, and I did that way back when I started the channel. That's when I decided that. Since then, I have added subscriber goals and a number of other things. So, I think the subscriber ones are pretty self-explanatory. Subscribers probably isn't the best way to measure success or progress, but it is a nice handy little number to have, and it gives a indication at least. I have the goal of being monetized by 2023. I think these are all the end of that year, so it's getting monetized in the year 2023, which I think is doable. I don't know if it'll happen. I'd like to think it'll happen. And then the other major goal is go full-time in 2026, which from where I am right now seems mind-blowing, that in 5 years, or 4 years, 5 years, I could be doing this full-time. And based on other channels, it is doable. But it's just hard to imagine how much you can grow and how much things can change in 5 years. So basically on this sheet, I decided to just dream big. Okay, other than subscriber things, the main goals I have right now would be to launch a custom mini in 2027, which could also open other different products. Like, I don't know if at that point I would want to put out a painting course or something similar to that. I'm leaning towards probably not, but in 6 years I could easily change my mind. I also would like to do some NDF terrain. I'm not sure if that would be laser cut files or actual terrain. Depends on where things are at. I think if I went the route of the physical terrain, I would need an employee or an editor or something, and I think at that point it's possible that I could have that. But again, that's just mind-blowingly far away to me right now. So, dream big. Then in 2029, I want to launch a custom mini set. Now, this I would basically consider the 2027 one as like a test run sort of deal. And then this 2029 one, finally get into like a full warband sort of size set. Not anything too crazy, but a nice 5 to 10 minis I think would be really cool. And then finally, in 2030, I'll launch a minigame. I have a few ideas on what I would actually be interested in making. I think as I get into wargaming, especially Frostgrave now, and which will be my first wargame ever, I might change my mind on the nature of the minigame. In 9 years, I expect I will know enough about the hobby, the gaming mechanics, that sort of thing, to understand how to make one that's unique, that's better, that's filling a gap in the hobby. Connected to this actually is the reason I got into YouTube. Ultimately, Jazza put out a video way back at the very beginning of my journey. Jazza put out a video sharing his love of this hobby of mini painting, and then he also put out a number of creators that he followed or enjoyed watching YouTube videos from. One of them, Jeremy from Black Magic Craft. So I went over to Jeremy's channel and I fell in love with it, fell in love with what he was doing. He's doing all sorts of crazy terrain projects, and that just really inspired me. But what really got me into this was, he said like 3 months into his channel, into his learning about the hobby, he was making videos. So that kind of inspired me that I don't need to be good at the hobby before I can make videos, before I can share what I'm learning. So I just kind of jumped in. I had to learn a lot about YouTube, I had to learn a lot about the hobby, but I've made progress. So looking to the future, I got these big old goals. But to help me get to these goals, I really want to build this channel. So I have decided that I'm going to attempt to put out a second video every week. Not a terrain building video, but more of a talking about different aspects of the hobby, be it techniques or games or just lifestyle things that are connected to terrain building, miniature painting, that sort of thing. So there's 2 goals really for these videos that I think I'm going to call Tuesday Talk videos. That might be a little cheesy. I kind of like it. So goal number 1, put more videos out, grow the channel faster. That's pretty straightforward. Goal number 2 is to force myself to research more so that I develop these skills faster, so that I can improve basically all of the content on this channel, not just by making the channel bigger and therefore allowing me to dedicate more time to it, but also just developing my skills as a YouTube editor and train builder, mini painter, just giving me this arsenal of tools that I can use. And also I can then make this research that I've had that has developed me as a person accessible to other people, either in a different way than it's currently presented, or if it's not presented at all by other content creators, in making it easily available. So there you have it, my hopes and dreams and goals for the future, where I've come from, where I'm going. I hope this is helpful and maybe even interesting. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up, and with that, I'll see you in the future.